highlights channel of the Ranveer Show. This is TRS Clips. I'm an amateur political observer. I'm an engineering grad who's focused on growing his own businesses in his career. What I've noticed in the last 9 years is sure there's growth, sure there's like national fervor, sure there's geopolitical strength, and sure there is a lot of Hindu-Muslim divide. Sure there's a lot of communal tension. When you talk to the minorities in the country, there is definitely a negative sentiment. There is a sentiment of fear. And I hate seeing that because I've grown up in this cosmopolitan city. I've grown up with friends from all faiths. It does piss me off. And then when I dive a little bit deeper, I realize, oh, this is political marketing. Because at the end of the day, a politician's career is two-pronged. One, you have to get elected to be in power. Two, you have to run the country.
Correct.
I do believe when you are elected and when you're in power, you have the funds to be able to pay for the best minds around you. And they'll effectively tell you how to run the country well. But when you're trying to get to power, you need to have really strong political strategy. And one of the easiest ways to control masses is use religions and pit them against each other. Even if you yourself are a secular person, you might just go down that route of saying, oh, no, fight with the other religion.
That's true.
So I don't like the overall sentiment, the religious sentiment in our country today, because I see Muslims around me, Christians around me, Sikhs around me feeling slightly uncomfortable. I'm not Muslim, I'm not Christian, I'm not Sikh. It's not my right to say that, no, but you guys should be feeling like this because I have not lived your reality. I do not like this, and I don't think it's going to change either. I think this kind of religious fervor is going to be there in the country. I can do my bit as a podcaster and try influencing people to think a certain way. I don't see it changing. I dislike it, and I hope that people change, and I hope that the masses understand how religion can be used as a tool to influence your mind and therefore your vote.
You know, all we have to do, and I want our youngsters who are watching this podcast to know, India and Pakistan were born on the same day. And Pakistan one day ahead. I mean, if you celebrate 14th August, we're born on the same day. Look at where India is today, and look at where Pakistan is. And I'm not comparing ourselves to India. I think we should fight. Our fight should be with America, France, and Britain.
Yeah.
I don't consider China because it's not a democracy. I know China is the second largest economy in the world, but our competition should be that. But look at where we've left Pakistan behind. And the reason we left Pakistan behind is because Pakistan introduced religion in everything. And look at what happened to Pakistan. And India is such a great, diverse country. Why should anyone, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christians, gay, transgender, anyone feel insecure of anybody else? Why can't we, as fellow citizens, work towards a larger, greater good of making our lives and thereby the country's lives more prosperous? If you do well, he does well, your team does well, I do well. If each one of us individually grows, the country as a whole grows. So why aren't we looking at it? Why is this, even amongst my Hindu fellow citizens, why is there fear? Why is there fear of the Muslim? You've lived so many years with the Muslim. Why has this fear come up? What is this fear? So I think that this narrative needs to end now. It's not good because Hillary Clinton said something amazing. You cannot have snakes in your backyard and think it will only sting you or only bite your neighbors. It won't come to bite you. The minute this hate goes out of control, it will spread like wildfire and you cannot control it. Have you thought, and this is, something just came to my mind. We have so many of these mob violence incidents. I'm not even getting into the religion of it. Mob violence is wrong, period. Why are young Indians involved in mob fights? Why are young Indians doing the most barbaric things, mob fighting? Mobs were prevalent in 14th century Europe. They were prevalent in 17th, 18th century United States. It's a very old-fashioned thing. Why are they doing such an old-fashioned thing and using modern technology like phones to record it? For example, what happened in Manipur, the parading of the mob parading those two women. And they're recording it using the latest technology, the Geo or the 4G or the 5G or the latest gadgets, doing something that is so old, that is something so ancient. Can you, the contradiction? Because when you don't have jobs, you get mobs. Ranveer, please answer this. And I'm going to be brutally honest here and feel free to stop me if you think I'm crossing the line. Why is no BJP minister's son on the street protecting religion or fighting for culture or nationalism? Why is no Muslim leaders' kids on the road fighting for religion or protecting religion or his culture identity? Why is OAC's kids, and I'm taking names, studying abroad? Why do Shivraj Singh Chauhan's kids study abroad? Why are politicians' kids studying abroad? Why are they learning English? Why is it those on the mobs, the poorest of our poor fellow citizens? Because they don't have jobs. Why will you not be on the road with a mob? Because you have a job to do. You're an entrepreneur, you have jobs, you have houses to take care of. If you don't have jobs, you get mobs. Why has India suddenly got so many mobs? Because we aren't creating enough jobs. Which politician across the divide is telling you that, listen, with AI coming in, your jobs are going to, in a lot of ways, reduce. For example, even your secretary will go to ChatGPT. I have 2 secretaries, I may just have 1 in the future. With automatic cars coming in, you may not need chauffeurs or drivers. Why aren't they? Where are these young Indians going to go? They're going to go into the service industry then? Because you have a young population, you have to accommodate, you have to give them jobs. What are we doing to make our service industry even better? Make it easier. Where are young Indians going to go? So they're going to become bartenders, they're going to become podcasters, they're going to become, they're going to run spas, they're going to run salons. That's where they're going to go, right? You can export your service industry. We have young population, speak good English, we can export it. Why aren't we talking about that? What are we talking about? Look at what's happening in Haryana at this moment. Look at what's happening in Manipur at this moment. Why is this happening in our country? And who are the sufferers? Ultimately, the sufferers are the youngsters. The politicians, either side of the divide, their kids are abroad. They're studying. Why aren't their kids on the road? If there was such a threat to India, to Hindus or to Muslims, or to Christians or to Sikhs, why aren't the politicians' kids on the street? How many politicians' kids do you know of who've been arrested for riots? 0. How many politicians do you know of who are on the streets brandishing swords, trishuls, guns, AK-47? 0. Why is it the kids who don't have jobs?
How do you create more jobs? What's the actual way to create more jobs?
First, to have a conversation, to figure out, look, the world is transforming at a rapid pace. And I'm just going to slightly diverge. I was last week with a friend of mine who owns one of the best hospitals in India, cancer special hospitals. They've got a robot in, which now, if your cancer hasn't spread and you don't need chemo, does the operation in 2 days, you're out. It precisely does the operation. So your number of doctors are going to come down for an operation. So with technology coming in every field of the world, with jobs reducing, jobs will be created in new spheres. You will have to create jobs in spheres that we'll have to research, we'll have to find, we'll have to accommodate. That conversation is not happening. So if you want to create new jobs, for example, in the service industry, we'll require more people, for example, to start more spas or salons or podcasts or whatever. How is that going to happen? What do they require? Can you be a good podcaster in the Northeast with 1 month of internet cut? So everything has to be decided. Everything has to be put in context. Everything has to be synchronized. Everything has to fit that jigsaw puzzle. For that, you need to have a civilized conversation. What is our conversation over the last few years been about? Hindu, Muslim, ye khatre mein hai, wo khatre mein hai, my identity is being attacked. Why? Because these are diversionary tactics. But again, I go back. None of the politicians' kids are involved in this conversation. They're all abroad. They're studying at Harvard, Boston, the best universities in the world, Oxford. The poor are out there. And unless you don't give these poor people jobs, they will all be mobs. And that is the problem. What is happening in Pakistan today? Mobs. What's happening in Syria today? Mobs. Afghanistan today? Mobs. I'm not comparing my country today. It's a democratic country with the rule of law. But is it rule of law that 50 kilometers ahead of Haryana, people are firing each other of different religion? I'm not taking any religion side with AK-47, 56. And not one politician is asking the question that how did AK-47 and AK-56 come, or sniper guns come inside Haryana 50 kilometers from where our honorable Prime Minister stays? Is this an Afghanistan? Is this a Syria?
Okay. I have some observations that I've picked up from the show and try tying these into the thought that you're in already. When I had Sanjeev Sanyal on the show, now he works with the government. He's the economic advisor.
Brilliant guy, huh?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Incredible mind, probably one of the best podcasts.
Did you read his book?
I haven't yet.
I want to read it as well. Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Sanjeev Sanyal, effectively, when I asked him about similar kind of questions in terms of how do you build more jobs in the country, he said that it's any government's job to provide kind of an infrastructure. They are working on building a massive fish tank. The fish are the people who live within the fish tank. And then it's for the fish to actually do their thing and try creating businesses. So he said that the government looks towards the world of entrepreneurship as the means to growth, saying, hey, we've built all the infrastructure for you. Now, please, you guys create things and take the country forward. That's how the government looks at it. Now, this is one narrative.
Correct.
Secondly, when I actually went for the cabinet minister podcast, what people saw were the conversations I'd spent almost a week, in that premises, going from one ministry to another. I saw how the government works. I felt that there were some things that could be improved in terms of efficiency, like the entrepreneur in me kicked in. I was like, if I was in charge of all this, there would be certain things I would be doing better. Like, I would be a little more organized, etc. But who am I, like, to say anything?
No, you are. You're a tax-paying citizen, bro. You are right. Look, sorry, I'm interrupting you. The first 3 words of our constitution is "we the people." Not I the president, I the prime minister, I the leader of opposition, I the chief justice. We the people. We are the owners of this country.
My reading was that in that whole administrative system, there's a heavy need of a lot more young people. The best run department, at least from my eyes, was Piyush Goyal's department. And he had like a few young people around him. A friend of mine, a senior mine from engineering college, was actually working with him. And that dude was one of the sharpest guys in my engineering college. So I actually got really happy seeing him there. I was like, okay, so this is the kind of energy that certain cabinet ministers are at least going for. And again, I'm not marketing Piyush Goyal. I'm just saying it like how it is. I also saw that there's a big variety in how different cabinet ministers choose to run their ministries. It's kind of like they're micro entrepreneurs within that ministry. So effectively, what I figured is, one, at least the feeling I got is all of them are hustling. At least that's what it felt like. Because when I met them at night, they were all like, you could tell they've had a long work day. When I met them in the morning, the energy around them was very, listen, let's get work done. It's like they were working at maximum capacity. Of course, there's all these negative things of political narrative, too much PR about Modi ji. I felt like that's something the BJP should switch about its own PR strategy. Stop talking about Modi ji and start talking about the actual, cabinet ministers. Even they are cool people. Cool. Start talking about yourselves. Address all the shortcomings as well. Like, that's something that I don't think happens in politics for some reason. No one addresses the shortcoming. No one goes into the self-criticism thing.
Correct.
Where the world of the internet is, the audience has become really smart. Correct. If you don't criticize yourself, they will criticize you doubly on the internet. True. So it's important to address where you've gone wrong, in the way that I didn't ask them tough enough questions. That's my self-criticism. But the people in power also have to do that. Yeah. Now, coming to this whole thing about creating jobs, I don't know enough to know whether the government has it in their power to create more jobs or not. I want to know specifically, as an entrepreneur, as an engineering guy, what are the steps they can take to create more jobs?
So first, if you want to create more jobs, the government should do nothing. If they do nothing, it'll get created. I'll tell you why. I think, and I'll give the Prime Minister credit. He has at times said it. Okay, I'm going to get trolled for this. He has at times said it. But also, I think that he's not said it forcefully enough or implemented it enough. So I was fighting vigilantism, which had nothing, which was both sides. As many Muslims have been lynched, believe you me, Hindus have been lynched. Believe you me, the most lynched people in India are not Hindus or Muslims, but the transgenders. आप बता दो ये सेक्स वर्कर है, मार लो. Women are the most lynched. आप बता दो ये पागल है, प्रॉपर्टी लेनी है, विच है, चुड़ैल है. आज के भारत में. So they are much more lynched than Hindu-Muslim. So I fought lynching. The Honorable Prime Minister's statement was, उनको मत मारो, मुझे मारो. भाई कोई किसे क्यों मारे? जो मारा उसको अब जेल में बंद करो ना. So I think the Prime Minister does make an effort. I just think it doesn't fructify into a complete effort. He should put his foot down. So that is one. I'm not even saying प्यार की बात करो. Rahul Gandhi is doing मोहब्बत की दुकान, आप मत करो, but नफरत बंद करो. Second thing I think that should happen is the ability to speak without fear should be encouraged. We are a democracy. And I go back to what I said. The first 3 words of our constitution is we the people. Not I the prime minister, I the president, I the leader of opposition. We the people. We the people. This country is ours first. We the people. There's no God in our constitution. We the people are first. We are supreme. So we should have the right to criticize who we want, as long as it's within decent. I don't believe in abusive. Why should somebody be offended? Why should they be scared at IT, CBI, ED, or anybody from either side? Again, when I say this, you will have a lot of people tweeting you don't know how much Congress has misused it. Of course they have. Therefore the BJP came. Of course the Congress has misused it. I'd be a hypocrite being a Congress supporter on your podcast saying Congress didn't do it. Of course they misused these laws. But the BJP is also doing it. Why should that happen? Why shouldn't India be a country where I'm free to say what I want to who I want? As long as it's not abusive or defamatory. And defamation laws exist. Why should you be scared? Unless you don't have these two ideal situations, jobs will not be created. Because the easy way out is mobs. So you have to do this.
Okay. I still am of the opinion that if there's more entrepreneurial energy in the country and just more entrepreneurs, and I don't know if it's in the government's hands to create more entrepreneurs. It's just a part of culture.
But shouldn't but the policy is in their hands?
Yeah.
Shouldn't
sure.
policy be consistent?
Yes. And I'll also say this. Most of my startup friends and people in my startup network want to incorporate their companies abroad.
Why? That answers your question. I'll tell you, I'll give you a personal example. I have a business partner. He passed away in Jan this year. And we ran an NGO together, a not-for-profit company, which did a lot of work during COVID. Your producers know that. So when he passed away, we're today in August. He passed away in Jan. Till today, his name as director hasn't gone out, and my mom's name as director in the company hasn't come in, simply because the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website is so slow and it just takes so long. You are talking about digital India. I'm talking about from Jan to now. Okay, I started the process in Feb. We're today in August. The bank account should hopefully get done next week now. Why is it taking so long? For Zurwan's Aadhaar card, and this is day before yesterday, it's digital, right? So Zurwan's only 5 months old, his Aadhaar. For the digital thing, my secretary called me 30 times, had to try 30 times for that OTP to go through. 30 times, because it was on my phone. 30 times, because the website doesn't work.
Yeah.
How is this digital India? So you have to make, you can't talk about digital India not implemented. Number two, day before yesterday, they said, now we're going to ban laptops. Masterstroke. Great. Today they've said, no, we'll allow laptops to come in. How can you change policy in 2 days? Do you not think of your policy through? Then how does a young entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs depend upon policy. You cannot midway change your policy because you as a businessman make commitments based on a government's policies. Those policies can't be changed.
I spoke to my senior who works in Piyush Goyal's team. He said that it's definitely not the highest paying job. He could have earned much more by working abroad, etc. But he said that it feels great to work for your country. It's extremely rewarding to actually be able to contribute to what's happening in your nation. Man, I know like 50 people from my own network and my own career who would be fantastic additions to this business development unit of the government. And, even when you bring up narratives like this, it's often those two extreme ends of the horseshoe magnet then start criticizing you that, this is so silly. How can you even say that? Dude, this is the solution to all these problems. This is why I actually, I love talking to you, bro, because there's brotherly energy and I love your communication skills, but I don't always enjoy political conversations because we're always highlighting what's happened in the last 1 or 2 years rather than saying, listen, I think that's the solution.
Correct.
Do you ever see that changing? And I personally, I'm sure there's politicians watching this. I'm sure there's government personnel watching
this.
this.
And they're going to get trolled. Both sides are going to troll us.
Yeah.
This one's going to be both sides.
It's perfectly fine, man. I'm like Leonidas in 300 with the arrows. But do you think this will ever happen? Will we actually see changes in the way the government operates, or do politicians just enjoy the power too much?
They enjoy the power too much, but we need to see it. If we think beyond the headlines that India is going to be the third largest GDP, we really want to make a qualitative difference to people's lives. Qualitative difference. We need to change it. And the only way to change it is entrepreneurs. The more businesses you'll create, the more your GDP will grow, the more you'll create auxiliary businesses around it, the more you'll have jobs being created. There is no other way except creating businesses. And dole-outs is not the way, because ultimately, where does the money come from? So for that, to create businesses, labor reforms, even more reforms in manufacturing, taxation reforms, all of this needs to be done. All of this needs to be debated. We need to have substantial debates on this. We are not doing it.
Okay. The person I was most impressed by, and I'm sorry I'm bringing it back much to that.
That's your experience. You have to share it. Yeah.
Which is why I didn't talk to you a lot outside. I just wanted to be honest. Was Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Because he had an entrepreneurial past. I believe
he's been an entrepreneur, telecom.
I think he's a billionaire. Yeah. Sold BPL, etc., etc. And he's still choosing to
be in government.
Yeah. Now, you could argue that, this is probably the next human high, that after money, there's power. I would argue that he's trying to do something for his country.
I think so. I don't think anyone has bad intentions.
Yeah. Everyone begins with trying to do something for the country, but it's about what they do during the cricket match that is criticized or applauded. I would love to see more people like him in power. People who've had fantastic business careers behind them, who know how to run organizations, CEOs, etc. I believe even the Chinese Communist Party, the top leadership is a bunch of people who've served as CEOs of companies.
Yeah.
At least someone on the show recently said this.
Yeah.
That struck me like a bolt of lightning, man, because I know that. First of all, what do you think of Nitin Gadkari in short?
I love Nitin Gadkari. I think, honestly, he's the best performing BJP minister.
Why isn't it a bunch of Nitin Gadkaris in the cabinet then?
Because the Prime Minister won't like it.
Why?
In my opinion, the Prime Minister likes everything being done from a centralized system. And I know that BJP supporters won't like it, but it's too much about Modi ji. And we spoke about this. It has to be. You have to let go of some power. You have to delegate. See, Nitin Gadkari is his own man in that sense. He comes from Nagpur. He's very close to the RAAAZ leadership. Very difficult to sideline him. So he's able to get things done. And he's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard a negative word from Nitin Gadkari? Have you said, paisa nahi hai, recession? Paisa nahi hai, main highway bana dunga. I'll make bonds. That is how it is. He finds solutions. He's not crying about problems. Is he playing victim card? You'll never find Nitin Gadkari playing a victim card.
Yeah, I think, honestly, at least speaking from the perspective of the internet, Dr. Jaishankar is currently the second most popular politician in the BJP, and I would probably put Nitin Gadkari at number 3, or maybe a close number. Maybe it's the number 2 position is between him and Dr.
But
Jaishankar.
also, Dr. Jaishankar has all these amazing statements that he made, the bravado statements, some of which I'm critical about, which I've got India into a little bit of trouble.
You know, politicians, I hope they understand how important reels and shorts are for their
I hope so too.
General election
But listen,
preparation.
But Dr. Jaishankar's perfect material for reels.
Yeah.
Huh? For reels, he's phenomenal. With those one-liners that he does, very good.
I think the others need to crack it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, they really need some education from young people.
True.
I felt that in my experience as well, that there was a lot of inputs I gave the government in general, at least the little interaction I had with them, even off camera. And they were receptive. But I was like, whoa, I'm just 29, dude. And I figured some shit about the digital world.
True.
And I think these guys really need help in certain aspects. So I hope they're keeping up with the times, which is why I think both the sides need an overall when it comes to their PR strategies. They're not keeping up with what's happening in the internet.
And reach out to more people. And reach out in lingo which is understood.
Yeah.
Not in lingo that is too over the top.
So these are playlists made especially for you. We've tailor-made learning experiences for you. DRS clips.